Welcome to the session today. The session named AI of the Coastline and Empowering EBS Users to Ride the Wave of Instant Intelligence. This is the topic for our discussion today. I have my colleagues Megan and Bruce helping me in this presentation. Before starting, let me ask you guys some questions so that it makes interactive. How many of you are using or running Oracle EBS? Just raise your hand. Okay, I see five, six. And how many of you are running Oracle EBS on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure? Yeah, three. That's great. And which version? Anybody knows? Like, is it 24.1, 24.2? Wow. Okay, 12 to 11. That's the EBS version. Yeah, it's already 12 to 4. Next is how many of you are running Oracle Cloud ERP? And yeah, looks like no one. So that's a zero count. And how many of are not using Oracle at all? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to our this myself. My name is Sudhakar Babji Papagatti, and I'm a technical director at Project Partner. And I hold a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai. I mainly work on what's the e-business suite, ERP, Fusion, and OCI and Oracle Integration Cloud. Uh, and in the past, I have worked with some technical companies like IBM and some entertainment companies like Disney and some public SEC companies that federal government runs. So my current focus is to leverage AI and its related trained models to EBS and our cloud infrastructure so that EBS experience is enhanced to the user. And also, I'm passionate about entrepreneurship and uh, learn new technologies so that we are in the works with the same problem. And now, moving on to our company, Project Partners, it is like a 25 plus years of experience in delivering project-centric organizations, and it has more than 400 global implementations. And so it has the professionals of majorly experience in project deliverables and projects experience, and then it has former Oracle employees, and also it has global reach of employees located throughout the world. And we specialize in guiding the organization through the complex business transformations and improving the project management practices and unlocking the full potential of our three technologies. So EBS and JD Edwards Primavera and our eCloud and much more applications we deal with them. So what we do is from global rollout to tens of thousands of users to tightly integrated extensions across ERP and PPM platforms. We deliver the right ones tailored to your business, and mostly on the project side. Next, moving on to the agenda for today. Uh, First will be the introduction, which is like overview of the session and objects, what we're going to discuss today and go through. And then simplifying the user experience, I will know some questions or something like that, so that it starts our interactive discussion. Moving on to then accessing AI-powered insights. What we did in last 5 to 6 months is we have two ways to do this AI enablement in ERP, EBS. So we will do the two easy ways in EBS. Uh, so first one, next moving on to that, first one is the direct interaction with EBS, where you embed your prompting inside your EBS application using Apex. And then the second approach is to take the Apex-based application and directly log in there and connect your Oracle AI-powered database. Then moving on to the next topic is the technical components of AI in EBS. This is mainly for the technical folks where they want to know what are the pillars that make this AI enablement inside India. Then we'll go through a little bit of technical insights over the security protocols, how are the security implemented in AI related technologies, and how the data is safe, and also no human intervention, bad intervention is taking place. Then we'll move on to the limitations of AI. There are sort of limitations of AI, like regions, and all. We will go through that in the next topic. And at the end, we will see what are the future aspects of AI in EBS. So how we can leverage the AI trained models, large language models inside the EBS to achieve the day-to-day life by better results, better reports, so on. Okay, so now let's move on to our AI vision. So let's say when you come to your desk and you think like, what are my delayed work hours? Like if you deal with work hours in the day-to-day life, so that comes to your mind, and that's how we start. And let's focus. I mean, let's move on to the next. Like there are some HR people, so they come to their desk and say, okay, I want to see the employees who has over 25 years of experience, and their names and their location, so those kind of questions. And then if you are dealing with invoices, so you want a report where those invoices are overdue for a month, and these are the generic day-to-day questions that the project managers or HR managers or the people who work on the different models of EBS will do. You guys have any other questions like you want to ask anybody? The AI, just like you ask Alexa, right? Alexa, what's the weather today? Like that, if you want to do in your job every day like that. So that will be more faster, and you will be very free to see the results without calling your subordinates saying that get me a report or get me something like that. It will take from half an hour, 1 hour to see the report. But here, the results will be fast, and you don't need to wait for anybody. Agenda. So, how does it matter? That's what. So you'll get the answers quickly. You don't need any reports or any software to be run against by the developers or the project leaders or something like that. And also the main focus is it uses a simple English language, right? It's natural language. You don't need to write structured query language or Java or something like that. No technical skills at all needed. Just type English question and you get the report, and it will up in just seconds of matter. Then you don't need to rely on the IT department or any custom reports or dashboards that you log in and run some queries. And when you have your data quickly returned back, you can make faster decisions. Let's say like your invoices are delayed, then you can next proceed on working on those invoices quickly. You don't need to wait for any help. So now, next moving on to our agenda. So how we can afford EBS like business users. So we are trying to use the native AI capabilities of our cloud infrastructure. Let me play a small demo video, what we are going to see. Okay, so that's the uh, demo part. Okay, so moving on to our agenda, next is, as I said, there are two ways to access the AI-powered insight. One is directly asking the question in EBS, that's what we saw, where the prompt is on the top of the EBS application screen. You can type in plain English and it returns the result. Then the second option is a simple Apex application. So Apex supports this AI interaction with its latest version 24.1 and 24.2. It supports the interaction with generative AI capability of OCI. So in this, what is happening is you'll have an Apex application instead of EBS application. You are given a link to Apex and you can log in. You will be filling a profile like if you are belonging to people management and HR. And if you are in manufacturing, then you should be given a domain called manufacturing. If you work on both, you get on both. Then you can enter English in question in English in the Apex application instead of EBS, and you can get the uh, instant result. Then we are taking here from some examples instead of the demo. These are the screens that we wanted to show so that we can discuss in detail. So here, if you see the domain is discrete manufacturing, and the user has entered show the default details of the work orders released in the last 2 weeks, which are delayed, weeks which are delayed. So it has some major keywords like work orders and then delay, and 2 weeks is the time. So these are all converted into um, dates, and then the work order delay converted into status. So all these are being converted into SQL. So once you run that prompt against that discrete manufacturing domain, which already has been given as a profile to the user, that will give you all these results. So you can see the job status and what is the quantity completed and what order delayed. Like, see that these are all like some unique values 1012. So, and there are some how many are delayed, started, and the actual release date, actual completion date, all these are related to that. So that this is one example. Next is the another prompt. So here the domain is people, which is nothing but HCM and HR. So the user has asked for it is a prompt, list employees with 25 years of experience, 25 plus years of experience. So you can see first table has all those employees names, first name, last name, and their details. Next, the user wanted to know, okay, what are their current positions? So that is simple English, they type, and if you can see that show their current positions and supervisor information. So that is the prompt that has been entered by the user, and these results were populated instantly. So this is on the HR domain, people domain. Next is the um, next also we have payments. That is the domain. So here the user has asked like group by operating unit and site. You can see that the results have come here with the site and now the total number of payments on that. And as a follow prompt, the user has typed in it show all partially paid invoices for the supplier. So that is the results that has been prompted by the AI generative AI capability. So for the benefit of the technical developers, they enable this SQL, which shows all the related SQL that actually run against the EBS data. Okay, so this is all you're typing and you're getting the results exactly. So there are ways how to clear the previous conversion. That is using this button called new conversation. So you can clear the previous prompt and run a new one. So this will be
Yeah.
but so when you go to chat gpt or other things, like you type something, it listens to your response also. So like that, this is also it basically keeps the context also, and it gears up for the next follow-up question. Yeah, so you can type a follow-up question, so you don't need to again type everything and then append what you want to type again. And as I said, there are some several domains where you can do this AI select and run these queries. Those are like discrete manufacturing. There's some profiles that they have enabled. So those are all the domains that. So these will be displayed only when you are assigned with the profile. So you can change if you are assigned multiple profiles on your initial profile validation. Okay, so then this is for the SQL button. So for this actually administrators and also the technical developers. As I already shown, this is the show SQL button. It is type all the relevant SQLs. You can see uh, with data, select job, how that actually run against the EBS database. So if you want to tweak this query, like how do we add more data to this? So what you do is you change your prompt and then include more, like let's say constraint more, like dates are created by the some so and so, or what are the give some dates. So that is how you give more columns and modify the prompt.
Okay.
Uh, Yeah, so we have gone through all the domains, like and some of the domains, which are discrete domain, descriptive of manufacturing and people, and we also went through payment. So let's say if you have to ask some general questions to your Gen AI capabilities of EBS, so what would you guys uh, ask or prompt the AI? So any takers, like how do you want to utilize Gen AI capabilities? Maybe
Uh,
if you are into people or HCM, anybody? Okay, so let's yeah, take that. When people understand the Gen AI capabilities and they like this, then they try to pose more new questions to tweak that. So that's how um, it evaluates. As we are evaluating towards AI, the models that are trained to AI also are evolving. They are putting more uh, characters, more words to that 7 trillion um, LLM models. So it is also evolving. Like Meta is doing their own LLM. Cohere has their own LLM. They are training their models with temperatures, hallucinations, and you can train them also. Okay, so now putting this into a simple, simplified version for everybody, not only technical or business or functional users. So what does it do? You just enter your question, just explains in English, or future there are language supports also coming, and then the select AI or AI generated capabilities turns those into database query, and then a results are shown instant. So it's very simple. It's all with your existing EBS access and security. So nothing fancy, but the fancy stuff is happening on the LLM side, which is evolving day to day as we speak. ChatGPT or Grok AI, these are all the vendors that are providing the LLM capabilities. Okay. So the Oracle has some domain supported for today, but they are evolving also. They are trying to put more domains, like people, which is HRMS and HCM in Cloudhold, then manufacturing, which is display process, and you can see project and maintenance, use payment. So these are all the currently supported domain. Then moving on to our technical components. Um, uh, so how this AI is working inside of e-business. So that is this is for technical developers, and um, so there are some prerequisites to achieve this. You cannot just if you have call to 2 or call to 3, you cannot just enable your EBS for AI and enable. It needs to be equal to 7, and then your Oracle database has to be 93 or later, and Apex has to be 24.1, and ORS is a critical component. So all these AI generated services are all based on REST for now. So this is the important factor to enable that. And then we have a WebLogic server which is 12 or higher, and then we have Oracle e-business suite. So if you have instances prior to 12 to 14, right, you need to upgrade your EBS. Like, so the AD is the database technology stack, and 8 is neat. So these stacks has to be in these levels, like 16, 16, and 13. So for this, they gave some package to be implemented. So the DBS has to download these package, and if you are at 12 to 12, let's say, then you need to go to Oracle support and download these deltas from their site, and then make your EBS for 12 to 14. So the minimum version that you need on EBS is 12 to 14. Then there are some application framework changes, bundle package. These are critical. So these will enable your AI framework to be enabled. So this package is also required. This is one of the critical packages. And then there are some one-off packages to register Apex public user. So Apex public user is the actual user that talks to select AI profiles on the generative AI capabilities of Oracle. Okay, so coming to the technical overview, this is what we have been doing for last 6 months. We try to understand components and try to figure out, and we established those in our development environment, and try to interact with the AI models. So the first one is the e-business suite that we know. We log in as a user. Then the second one is the Apex, where you type your prompts and other prompt text box where you can enter your simple English question. Then the third one is ADB, which is nothing but Oracle Autonomous Database. This is available on OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So this ADB has all those AI profiles, which talks to this LLM credential and DBS schema metadata. So these AI profiles are nothing but, let's say, they are subject matter expertise. Like, so if you have any HR team, so they will have one profile. So like the synonym. So those profiles will talk to AI and then get the SQ. Fourth component is EBS database, which we all work on. And the underlying concept is use a schema that is accessible to all the schemas of EBS, like AP, AR, projects, or financial, supply chain management. So this XXNLQ schema, right, that has only read-only permission on those schemas. So what it does is it takes the query and runs those with only read-only. It can't update or modify any data on this actual data. So these are all based on the EBS metadata. So if you see this is Oracle Infrastructure Cloud Gen AI. This is the part where it actually talks to the LLM models like Facebook Meta, Llama, and Cohere, and then OpenAI. So all those are the LLM. So then next coming to, we already talked about the EBS, the form. The prompting where we write all those questions is in Apex frontend. So what does it do? So Apex is already on top of, so it needs to be on a different WebLogic server, and EBS has its own WebLogic server. So they can't be on the same, that is the minimum requirement. So EBS WebLogic server and Apex WebLogic server has to be on different ports, so that they don't share the security profiles. So for both of them, the EBS single sign-on will be used as the authenticator. Um, and this Apex uses the OA framework, which is our classification framework, to talk to um, actual packages and procedures, right? So FND user is the basic table where you enter your username and password. They all will be encrypted and put into that basic table. So at the end of the day, it uses the same EBS foundation table to authenticate users or to get any other packages executed. And then, so this is API Apex UI has that prompting area, right, which takes a natural language, which is in this case is English. So that will be calling the select AI profiles on this ADB, which is on the OCI. So this is the major intermediate action that will take place to talk to the DBMS Cloud API package that is on the ADP. So this package is available on the ADP. We'll go to that in the next slide. Then ADB returns this SQL query. That only SQL query returns, it won't return the data. The actual data will be executed against EBS. That is for the second component, which is Apex front. Then coming to this Oracle Autonomous Database, which is also quoted as ADB. Now, Oracle is more focusing on this ADB because it has capabilities to talk with GenAI capabilities. So this is the third one. So that this ADB has several AI profiles, as I said, like for one for AP, one for AR, and then you have projects, and then manufacturing, you have HCM. All those profiles are created on this ADB. So this is a step. Basically, you create those profiles when you configure ADB for AI. So as I said, this is the domain expert which actually answers your questions. So this is the main component that talks to and gets from the LLM capability. Then AI profile is the DB object that contains subset of EBS. So EBS has all profiles and more security enabled, but this ADB has subset of that, and we are making subset because we want capabilities into only some subset of the domains, not all the domains. In future, they will come up with all other profiles. So what are these profiles? So you can see those. EBS, NLQ, natural language query, and these are all the profile names. So if you take for discrete costing, that is EMX, DSP, then if you take payment, that is AP, and project manufacturing, GME, and PGL. So these are all the profiles. These are the setup that you need to do on the ADP so that it talks to that AI features. Moving on to the actual interaction where we want to talk to LLM models. So if you see here, right, I mean, it's not visible, but if you add that, you can see Cohere command and Metalama 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and so these are all the large language models that we are subscribed to. So Oracle is now currently subscribed only to these two. One is the Metalama, and the other one is Cohere. They are not tied up with OpenAI or Grok AI, which is the X LLM model. And you can see these are the basic concepts of LLM. So there is a temperature, and there is a penalty, and there is after that you can change this temperature for more accuracy, and there is a preamble directive, and this is how you train your model. This right side model is where you train your LLM model. So you can change that slide bar in the top to change that, then you can see a different result. So what you do here on the top of this box, you just say, what is the weather it's going to be like in Orlando for next 7 days. So then if you change these parameters, right, it will give you more accurate and more exact answer, the more you train your model. That is how your hallucinations will be gone, and more exact prompt will be returned. This is how you train your model. Currently, this is only available in some areas. You see here, Midwest Chicago. So uh, we will read that later. So for now, as I said, we have Cohere Command and Metalama main LLM providers. Then we have the fourth component, which is the e-business suite database. So what is happening inside this? So LLM has written your SQL, and then Apex has forwarded that SQL. So SQL please run on this NLQ schema with the profile name. So it will execute because the NLQ schema has read permission on those apps schema for APAR and all those projects, all other modules. Okay, so here it's a grant read privileges to the minimally required security. So we are doing that as a configuration configurator on EPS side. So we do these things. We give profiles, options, and all that. Okay, so as I said, SQL is executed and SQL is in a custom schema because this is not actual schema, not like AP or AR or other thing. So these are all synonyms granted all those. That is how it gets posted. So okay, everything is going good and smooth. You're typing a prompt and you're getting a results relevant to your prompt. But what is the security like? Can anybody get anybody's information? Like HR can get the domain of manufacturing or projects can get the details of no. So how it is executed is the actual security is in the roles provided by the profiles, right? So how we are doing that? First is the separation of duties. So you give your role and your responsibilities to that user, and that user will assign the NLP profile. So that is how you separate your users with a particular schema. And principle of least privilege, right? So that says if you have more privileges like read, write, delete, and all those commands on those privileges, but you will be given the least of them like read. So that's how you secure your data in the EBS data base. Next is single sign-on authentication. It's because we are not doing anything new here. We are using already enabled EBS SSO. So that takes care of your authentication and your encryptions, all that stuff. But this SSO, if you move on to cloud, it will be IDCS. So IDCS will take care of those security and logging in issue. Then role-based access control, which is already like you were given a role, let's say project manager or HR manager. So when we are executing, we see that actual security, who the user logged in, and we take that logged in profile and map it to the AI profile and run that. Then record level data security, as I said, it's all on the read only, so you cannot insert or update or do any other record update. You can do only read. Okay. By design itself, it is privacy in the sense you are not given any access to unknown profiles. So privacy is in place already. Then only you assign your roles to that privacy area. All these logging in that you are doing, you can enable logging on there. You can see which user logged in and what prompt he did and what results we have done. So this is a specific area. You can enable logging or shut it off if you don't need them. Let's see, moving on to the topic where it says limitations of AI in OCI. So as I said, currently the cloud infrastructure and AI are evolving. So not all regions. So for Oracle, they have like data centers, right? So they have regions. So not all regions have generative AI capabilities like Phoenix area, Ashburn area, Chicago. So these are all the areas. But some of them have these capabilities because the data center has the access to these AI chips and LLM trained models. So in US you can see it is in Chicago, and in Germany it is Frankfurt, and in Brazil it is Sao Paulo. So these are all the uh, specific regions where you can subscribe to generative AI supports. Okay, so as I just showed in the previous slides, where actual interaction with LLM, we saw only Cohere and Meta's Llama 2, and then 3 and 4 also are now coming. Where we saw 3.1, 2.2, those are all the LLMs. And moving on, Oracle is also planning for its own models. So they are also training their models and they're getting the like HTB, healthcare transaction rates, which Oracle. So those are all the models they are trying to. Now government is coming on this cancer. So those AI models are being trained by Oracle experts at Redwood. Okay, so then what are the benefits of using the Gen AI, right? In EBS or any application? For our discussion, it is EBS. So what we are doing is save time on everyday queries. As I said, you come and just type simple English. You don't need any SQL or Java or C# or .NET. So you get those queries back in simple English, and you can give slowly all your employees who has the capabilities to run AI, so that you can empower your users um, across departments. So slowly it evolves, and people can type in simple English and there was that. Then you can eliminate your routine reports requests, like see all those chiefs will be requesting. They themselves they can directly type in English, and this all report requests will be gone. Um, so this whole AI interaction is very faster in and very detailed in the results that it produces. So you have more insights and you can spend more time on the data and then give uh, more decision timing and act fast on those decisions. So these are all the benefits. There are negative sides also on this side. So if unknown person or a human intentionally hacks or gets the AI profile, and he can try to go inside and get the details. Uh, it's not applicable to small companies, but if you go to Google or Facebook, where there is more personal and also IRS, all those things, if your AI is being pretended as a um, malfunction or like a human that uh, has a bad intention, so that we cannot stop. So the only way we can stop is not use these AI capabilities to not require people for now. So there is a bad side of this part of benefits also. Um, then what is going on AI side in Oracle and also LLM side is you can see more domains are coming uh, now, particularly like the 7 to 8 or 9 domains. They are working on including more domains, and there are more personalized AI responses. This is on training your model. So if you raise your temperature or weights, so that is how your so like if you go to your Tesla car and you set up your um, seating setting so that you don't need to next time commit, your AI will keep ghosting as content. So those are personalized AI capabilities. Then deeper integration across CBS modules. So currently you can only query between AP or AR separately. So in future you can cross do these queries between different domains and different modules. Um, yeah, and uh, it will slowly become your part of life, and your productivity will increase. Your lifestyle will dramatically or exponentially be qualified to be a positive side. So you're spending less time on getting reports or writing queries. Uh, Now that part of writing queries is being done by AI. You can see what are the next available domains for AI to evolve? Is application, AI services, data platforms, and when you go to data, like AI infrastructure, so like NVIDIA AI chips is gaining momentum, and superclusters and supercomputer clustering is coming in accessible to AI, and then its file systems which are now highly secured with SFTP. There's going to be a new protocol for AI that they can access this file system, AI FTP. Okay, so we came to the summary. So what are we plainly concentrating on is that AI, using AI, and how it transforms our lives in daily routine life. So what are we doing here? So just ask questions in simple English, and the support for next language is also coming, and get answers from EBS instantly, directly from your EBS database. No, I mean there's no replica of data in any other location. You are directly dealing with your EBS data using AI, and then spend less time setting, more time acting. So as I said, you get the results quickly on your screen. You can go through each table or whatever Excel sheets are, and then dig into your deep data and make decisions quicker than waiting for the reports or developers to run, get some jobs or reassess jobs and send an email, and that email won't come. So you have to ask them to trigger it again. All those things will be removed from your daily lifestyle. And moving like what is in EBS in future? As I said, it's user driven now. You're typing and your profile is driving everything. So your profile is converted into a profile. It is like a subject matter expertise, and these are all simple now because all the work is done by AI model. The actual training and the development is done on AI side. It has its own algorithm to fetch your nearest match and throw that to the user. That's beautiful and very evolving area. So that's the summary. Okay, I think we have come to the end of this session. Anybody has any questions or? Yep. Uh-huh. Okay. 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 Yeah. So the user is asking like if we have multiple domains like procurement and some other payment domain, and if we want to get answers from both of the domains, how you train your model, and how do you get the results? So yeah, that's the evolving domain cross domain structure. Oracle is trying to map these profiles. So now, if you see the profile name EBS, NLQ, MFSFT, or for manufacturing, there are other. So they will come up with a new profile with two underscores. One is for procurement and one for. So what that profile will do, it will have access to both procurement and so the synonyms will be granted to procurement tables and also payment tables. So you don't need a separate profile like DBMS and then payment profile. So in single profile you will have, but that is not yet implemented. Currently it is single one-to-one profile. So your domain is manufacturing, your profile has manufacturing. Your payments, you will have payment profile. So future they are working on this because there is constraints and there are columns and the DFFs are involved. So they need to get those things in the SQL query. So they have to update their SQLs and packages. So that is the underlying. At the end of the day, it works on SQL, right? So those SQL needs to be updated to give a more outer joins and inner joins to those profiles. The schemas, and then so those will be in huge SQLs. The packages will be now in 500 lines. It will, when you club them, it will become 700 lines, and it will. So they have to optimize those SQLs, and that's how That's how they're now trying to work this betterment of queries, how to shorten those. So they're coming up with new AI specific queries. So just like select AI select, they want to do like that. They are proposing some documentation that we are going to publish that. So it's not like a simple select star from some so and so table. They're now coming up with some AI prefixes where you can use them, and that will directly query the profiles more efficient. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Okay. So for that, right? So the asking how do you train the model? So the question is now it's shifted towards the LLMs. So for that, you need to actually subscribe to LLMs that Facebook provides and work with your developers. So what you need to do is you have to recruit LLM developers and give them your queries. So they will try their models, including your requirement. So that will be on your side. So if you go to your Upwork or some market, people are now there are LLM developers coming up. They are nothing but they have exposure to those uh, LLM models. So the freshers from Stanford, or I mean, now it has been included in all computer science AI courses. The how to deal with LLMs and how the architecture of LLM work, and also the neural networks. So AI models are all based on neural networks. So whoever has neural networks experience, they can quickly get into AI and then write their LLM model, own model. So you have to anyway use existing temperatures and all the hallucinations. So you have to train your model according to your requirement. Uh, those profiles will be you need to subscribe LLM. So those we as a day-to-day developers, SQL developers, we can't do that. You need a LLM developer for that. So that's also evolving now. There are people are going into LLM training and they are getting acquainted with not only ChatGPT or OpenAI. There are now uh, some companies of Fulcrum are coming up with their own LLM developers. So you need to buy those models and then use them. Just like you buy EBS product, you have to buy LLM product. So customize that also has to be again LLM developer has to do, and then it's everything there. So you just need to type your English, and then it's two parts. One is EBS side. If you are not using EBS or any other application, you have to first train your EBS application, then you train your model. So those two are handy. Okay. I think, yeah. So all that I described has been already published in this line. You can go and click these things, download the PDF, and you click this thing. You can get all the documents. This is by Oracle. So thank you.
Thank you, one and all. That's fantastic.